Speaker Pro Tem. I think we're going to try to do a bit of a continuation of what we were doing last week. So if you don't like math or economics, please turn off C-SPAN. A couple things we got to walk through. Last Thursday, I think it was 38 minutes here. And the concept I was trying to walk through were two things. One, the demographics of the United States being the primary driver of U.S. debt. Okay, it's not that complicated, but it seems to really bother people. But the second thing was this concept called interest fragility. Big word. What it basically means is when you have 36 trillion of debt, 28, 29 trillion publicly financed, when over a year you're going to refinance almost 10 trillion, bring maybe 2.3 trillion new issuances to market, that little movements in interest rates can be a boatload of cash. What happened last Friday? We got a knockout jobs report. And here's the irony that people need to understand. The United States and a few other governments, China and others, are binging on so much debt that their just ravenous appetite to grab people's savings and borrow it around the world. When the bond market saw, hey, the U.S. economy is actually doing okay, that means more individuals, more businesses, more will be in the market to consume debt. We're going to raise interest rates. The United States gets its head kicked in when our interest rates go up. I think I was trying to show a chart the other day. And look, it doesn't completely work this way because you've got to refinance into it. But if we went to a 5% handle on U.S. sovereigns, that means from the short term to the 30 years, you had a 5% interest rate, was our mean interest rate on U.S. debt. It's almost $9 trillion additional borrowing, spending, interest over that next 10 years. So functionally, going to 5% is double everything we're pretty much talking about in the extension of the tax reform. There's this lack of understanding. We are on the cusp of the bond market, the debt markets actually being the number one influencer on U.S. policy, not Congress. When you borrow $70,000 a second, and I have charts, I didn't bring it this time, but I've done it in the past, that where we are in 9 years, it's no longer $70,000 a second. It's almost doubled. How many of you understand we borrow $70,000 a second? And the math will tell you almost 100% of that borrowing from today through the next decade is interest in healthcare. But we don't want to tell people that. Of the 2.3 trillion, my math says we're going to borrow this year, and CBO is going to publish something the next day or so. We'll see how close my math got to what their prediction is. Half of it's interest. So even when we do all sorts of things to reduce spending, to modernize on how we deliver services, to change the cost, we have this interest monster because we have 36 trillion and every 125 days, Madam Speaker, every basically 125 days, we click off another $1 trillion. And yeah, to the poor clerk staff, I'm so sorry. You have to be so tired of hearing idiots like me, well, idiot me, getting up and saying some of these things over and over. But it doesn't seem to sink in around here. Look, one of the reasons I'm here today is I'm trying to sell a concept. So this is a chart, and it's almost unreadable. I accept that. But what it was saying is we are up against a series of tax expirations at the end of this year. 3.7 trillion of it is individuals. Your individual taxes are going up at the end of this year. But then we have, estate taxes and pass-throughs and LLCs and partnerships, all those other things. And I think the Treasury Department a couple days ago scored it not at 4.6, they scored it at 5.5, which is a timing effect. It's because it's a different year and higher interest rates. But there's an economic study done by CBO and a couple outside groups saying if Congress can find a way to offset it, and that's hard. You're talking like $400 billion a year we'd have to find in modernizations and changing spending. But if Congress could step up and pay for it, you not only maintain current tax policy so our brothers and sisters, all of our taxes don't go up, but you get additional growth in the economy because you didn't just pull that much more money out of the economy and then have interest pile up on it. I think it was a year or so ago or 2 years ago, we had, I think, 3 months where we had to borrow money to pay for our borrowing. When we go home and talk to our voters, how many of them will look back at us and understand the scale? And you get these responses like, well, if you just cut this or that, and I'm going to show a couple of those charts again, and they're rounding errors. I mean, sometimes they're just a few hours of borrowing from an entire year, but that's what we speechify because it's easy to understand. It's a great soundbite on talk radio, and it's crap math. So once again, the basic premise of this chart, and it was done by, I believe, both Joint Economic, no, it was reconfirmed by Joint Economic, and the baseline math was also done by CBO. It said if you want to maximize economic prosperity in the United States, extend current tax policy, fix depreciation we call expensing, research and development expensing, because that's actually where you get the productivity curve, because God knows, you will hear the Democrats come behind the mic and talk about, look how good the job market is. How many Americans are actually poorer today than they were 4 years ago? They may be employed, but they're poor, and that's because inflation went up faster than their wages. I represent a district in the Phoenix-Scottsdale area that had, I believe, 27% inflation over the last 4 years. So unless your wages are up 27%, you are poorer today. How do you raise wages? How do you raise purchasing power? Well, two things. Wages go up with inflation. Well, that just means you're treading water. Productivity. There are things we could do in the tax policy that's coming to fix the things that create the productivity boost, the things we can do in regulatory reform, in modernization, the adoption of technology as a regulator. You get people around here go around saying, well, we're going to deregulate. Fine. But how about doing smart regulation? We're all walking around with these supercomputers in our pockets. The idea of you could crowdsource certain data, crash the size of the bureaucracy, make them less intrusive, and yet air quality, water quality, all these other things can be much safer. And it costs a fraction of what we do today, but you just have to be willing to think like a scientist, a data person, and deal with the army of lobbyists that are outside in the hallway who are upset that you're making them change their business model. Or the bureaucracies, the unionized bureaucracies that show up here angry at you saying, what do you mean you want to use technology at the IRS? Remember, Madam Speaker, the IRS is the second largest unionized workforce in America, in the federal government. I believe the VA is the first one. And every time we try to add modernization to do it better, faster, cheaper, and fairer, couldn't you believe they get cranky? So, look, the math is the math. If you want to maximize economic vitality for this country, do your very best to offset as much of the tax policy extension. The other thing I have to give you that's going to make me sound a little cranky is when you hear a member of Congress, particularly a couple of our senators, run around here and saying, we're just extending baseline. Huh? It's a whole made-up term now. The law is the law. The law says the tax cuts for individuals, pass-throughs, estate, alternative minimum tax, those things built in, expire at the end of 2025. We've made up a term around here saying, oh, we're just going to extend current policy. I had someone this morning say, we're extending current law. Current law is it expires. Take a look at all your CBO and your debt projections. It has the expirations in there. You take it away, fine. Be honest what it means. It's another few $1 trillion of debt over the next 10 years that we have to pay interest on. And here's the fragility. We're going to do this on a chart or two here. When you do that, you're going to go home and tell your voters, I extended your tax cuts. Great. I'm all for. I don't want to raise taxes on anyone. But if you do it without paying for it, when the interest rates go up, and that family's credit card, car debt, when their mortgage, when everything else gets more expensive, when the economy slows down because interest rates are up because you've made the bond market nervous. Oh, but David, that would require thinking like an economist. I'm going to get reelected by telling people I just extended their taxes. Okay, their tax benefits from the 2017 TCJA, great. How do we explain to people that there are no free options anymore? We have the moral obligation to not make the world debt markets nervous. And where that makes sense is, let's see if I can. You got to understand, and I need to double check my math because Great Britain, you saw what they did. They were doing all sorts of tax policy this summer and the pound crashed, their interest rates exploded. But most of the world, industrial world, actually has lower interest on their 10-year bond than the United States. Greece today can sell a 10-year bond almost a full percentage point cheaper than the United States. Greece today can sell a 10-year bond almost a full percentage point cheaper than the United States. Does anyone understand there is a risk premium? And look, if you screw around with this stuff, there's this thing called a term premium. It's a fancy way of saying we want actually a little higher interest for risk. So one of my predictions for 2025 is Moody's is the last of the three big rating services. I think we're going to get downgraded if we do this stuff without even an attempt to pay for some of it, offset some of it, modernize our costs and how we deliver services. If we do that, we're going to get downgraded by all three rating services. The other two have already downgraded us. Anyone here care? Or we just want to do happy talk and sugar highs? You know, a good dopamine hit by a good hit on, social media, but don't give the damn math. The fact of the matter is, most of the industrialized world today has a better credit rating, and you see it not by the credit rating services, but what they can sell their debt for cheaper than the United States. And when you hear people talk about the extraordinary privilege the United States has, there's actually two of them. The fact the world uses the US dollar as the ultimate arbiter of exchange. Great. Let's not screw that up. The other one we often never talk about, I'm going to do in a future presentation, it's actually from an economist standpoint maybe bigger than the fact that we get to buy and sell in our own currency, is actually the extraordinary privilege that smart people from around the world, entrepreneurs from around the world, investors from around the world want to do it here. They want to live here, go to school here, produce their products here, invest here. From an economist standpoint, the United States has two remarkable, extraordinary privileges, our currency and people want to be with us. In a couple of moments, I'm going to show you why that's so important. But back to a baseline. And please, if you're one of our new members, you got to memorize this. You see the blue on the chart that's upside down, so I look like an idiot? All right, let's get this right. That's discretionary. All defense we consider discretionary. Everything most people think is government, the FBI, the Park Service, the Foreign Service, those things, that's blue. We call that non-defense discretionary. Everything a member of Congress votes on is borrowed money. And if I do the math off the top of my head, maybe $400 billion of what's in the red, which is mostly earned benefits. That's your Social Security, that's your Medicare, that's your veterans benefits, that's your federal pensions, those things. Think about this. So functionally, I think this year it's like 75-25. 75% of all spending is on autopilot. We don't vote on it. Sorry, I shouldn't be yelling. I've had a lot of caffeine. What we do vote on, what we give speeches on, which we screw around with all the time, is discretionary. And in the scale of what we can reduce, it's almost a lot of what we debate here is rounding errors. We've actually had debates on the floor here where the amount of money that we're trying to save, we borrowed more money during the time of the debate than it would save that year. Because we don't understand. If you're clicking off $70,000 of borrowing every second, I wonder what this speech is costing. If I go a full hour, you start to see the idea. So you're clicking off. So far this fiscal year, we're borrowing about $10 billion a day. I think it will come in at $6-7 billion a day once we get tax receipts in April. But I'm trying to explain the fragility. So let's actually walk through. Here's the point I was just trying to make a couple moments ago. If we went back to a 5% interest rate, it's just shy of $9 trillion over 10 years. So just the interest rate move is double everything we're talking about. How many times do you hear elected officials like me get behind these microphones and talk through, it's not only having good fiscal policy, but we're also going to be disciplined because how we're going to communicate to the bond markets that we're worthy of the future investments. And where this gets really dangerous is, remember how I was just criticizing people walking around here saying, oh, let's just ignore everything. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. Don't have any offsets. If we do that, in 9 years, 9.2% of the entire economy is borrowed. This year, my math is we're going to kiss up around 7% of the entire economy is going to be borrowed money. What happens if we have some large disasters? Can you imagine that happening? What happens if we have another pandemic? What happens if we have a war? Do you understand how fragile you're making the greatest country on earth? Because we're not willing to tell the truth about the fiscal situation. And for my friends on the left to go, well, they just raised taxes. Look, I can bring my charts over and over, and as I have in the past, when we've had high marginal tax rates, we get about 17% of GDP. When we've had low marginal tax rates, we get about 17% of GDP. And that's, I think we got 75, 80 years of history of that, showing it always falls back down to that margin. So the secret is grow. But the other side is stop lying about growing. 1% of GDP, and I'm going to do this, double check myself in my head, 1% of GDP is $300 billion. If you get 17% of that, that's about $48 billion. If you're borrowing $7 billion a day, and you did all these things to get another point of GDP, you covered yourself for a week. You got to understand. So you get these folks who want to say happy talk. We're going to grow our way out. To cover this year's debt, you'd need almost a 50% GDP growth. Come on, join Reality World with us. Put batteries in your calculator. We can do it. We can do this together. But the one point I wanted to go is to our brothers and sisters on the left. I've done multiple presentations here showing that if you do all their tax hikes to $400,000 and up, you get about 1.5 points of GDP. If we do all of our spending cuts in the non-defense discretionary, which is what most of us have talked about for the last couple of years, you get about 1% of GDP. So you got a big 2.5%. We're borrowing 7% of the entire economy this year. So all the left solutions and the things we as conservatives often talk about don't get you actually anything close to what's necessary. Terrifying. Madam Speaker, I'm having a sort of a personal crisis of confidence because I do this every week. My math is good. We do our best. We make mistakes on occasion, but we try to double, triple check it. And no one seems to care. Is it really that terrifying to tell the truth to our voters? Because the press around here has no interest in telling the truth on the math. I have a couple Bloomberg reporters, a Wall Street Journal reporter, and on occasion, believe it or not, a public television reporter seem to be the only ones that ever want to look at these charts. Everyone else, it's basically they want to write a gossip story. Yet these things decide if my 2.5-year-old has a future. It also decides if your retirement becomes a miserable disaster. So I hear a little person up in the balcony. If that little person's 2 years old today, when that little person is 22, his or her taxes have to be double what they are today. 100% increase. So my 2-year-old, when he's hopefully finishing up his university and going into grad school before he does his doctorate, I have high ambitions for him. And we actually are trying to put into the family rules he's not allowed to run for office. Same thing with my 9-year-old daughter. That's both funny and actually true. But think of this. A child born today, when they're about 22, 23, United States has to double every single U.S. tax. Tariffs, income, corporate, everything. Just to maintain baseline services. The math says a child born today will be part of the first generation in U.S. history who will be poorer than their parents and grandparents. Great morality around here. Let alone our inability, we're not allowed to talk about Social Security, even though the Social Security actuaries, the CBO, the outside groups, the left groups, the right groups all say, hey, 9, 8, now 8.5 because we just gave away a couple $100 billion out of it. 9 years or so, we double senior poverty in America. Because when the trust fund's empty and you all get a 20% cut in Social Security, we double senior poverty. How many people do you see coming behind these microphones saying, we need to fix it. It's immoral where it's going. But if you do that, the left has a political consultant writing attack ads on you because they care so much more about winning the next election than saving the society and not doubling senior poverty. We already have the trouble after the inflation cycle. How many baby boomers are now living on the street because they can't afford their rent? The math is the math, and the math will win. If we continue current policy and not follow the law, in 9 years, 9.2% of all U.S. debt, of the economy will be borrowed in U.S. debt. And this chart doesn't even factor in the new higher interest rates because we're up a full point from early December. Great job, guys. And look, I've done this chart the last couple of weeks because it seems to have an impact. For every dollar we take in tax collections, we spend $1.39. Huh? Take in $1, spend $1.39. By 2034, if we went back to a 6% interest rate, now I know that's a couple points higher than we're at right now, but 6%, I think that's sort of what we were paying in the 80s, 90s, to early 2000s, up till the Great Recession. But if we go to 6%, think of this. In 9 budget years, 45% of all tax collections go just to interest. Anyone care? No, because we'd have to tell people the truth. This is a new chart, and I'm trying to actually sort of explain. So our brothers and sisters on the left who want basically a socialized, a planned economy, industrial policy, they did the CHIPS Act and then their version of, I guess they call it the Inflation Reduction Act. There's some good economic data now says if you wanted to do something that was much less expensive, created much broader economic growth, and created much more productivity, you should not do what the Democrats did, which is let's find some of our favorite industrial entities. Their executives, their investors will write us political checks. But if you had done something like research and development expensing and expensing when a company buys a piece of equipment to be better, faster, cheaper, it's dramatically less expensive. And it actually has more more economic value, more economic growth, and it's spread throughout the economy. Because the problem with the Democrats' industrial policy, we're going to give all this money to certain green technologies, we're going to do CHIPS Act, is you often are writing checks. So you get rent-seeking, writing checks for last-generation technology. Yeah, there's a little part of that I would have voted for primary research and development to do it better, faster, cheaper. It's like the old joke, what's the fastest way to make every computer in America worthless? Have someone invent a quantum computer. And suddenly that leap, it's like when all of a sudden you have a new photovoltaic panel, if it goes up 20%, as there are experiments in the lab right now, all the other ones now are out of the money and don't make economic sense anymore. But that's the concept. Creative destruction is one of the hallmarks of a society that becomes more productive. And the way you get that is not the arrogance. When I first got here, I think I stole this joke from my wife. She looked at me and said, "What are the 2 times in life, Mr. Speaker, you think you know everything? When you're 13 years old and the day after you get elected to Congress." Oh, come on, guys, that's funny stuff. But the fact of the matter is, when you see these sorts of policies coming from Democrats where they're so smart, they get to choose the industries that get the corporate handouts, the cash handouts. And you can't imagine that there were strings attached. And yet, if we had just done an egalitarian tax policy, say, we want to maximize productivity across the society because we aren't smart enough to know what the breakthrough is tomorrow. And that breakthrough tomorrow is the thing that raises all boats, I guess that's the saying, and makes us productive. And what do you get in a society that's more productive? Wages go up. All right. I just want to make a point, and I did a little bit of this last week. We held a little bit of a contest, I think, back in December, where give us your ideas of how you would, modernize or improve or reduce spending, these things. So far this budget year, if you got rid of foreign aid, so this is for the 2025 fiscal year, all foreign aid, you get rid of it, it's 1 week of borrowing. Get rid of all the salaries at the Department of Education. Okay, I'm fine with that. But you got to understand, it basically comes out to 9 hours of borrowing for an entire year. And that's not spending, that's borrowing. So you have these people like me get behind these microphones and we speechify, if we get rid of the Department of Education, we're going to balance the budget. No, all the salaries just covered 9 hours of borrowing. There's a scale problem. I know seeing 12 zeros when you start talking a trillion is hard. It's also our job. It's our job to understand the complexities here. And one of the complexities that we're terrified to talk about is if anyone's interested in what we're really up against, go online, grab Congressional Budget Office's report from yesterday. Every year they do an estimate on population, fertility, growth in this society. We were using the Census Bureau's data, and I've come here behind the microphone and said, hey, our quick look at the Census Bureau data was in 11 years, the United States was going to start to have more deaths than births. CBO yesterday came back and said, nah, the way they're calculating where fertility rates are in the United States in 8 years, in 8 years, the United States will have more deaths than births. Demographics is destiny. You want people like me to figure out the financing of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, which were all designed systems for population growth. Remember, today's worker pays for today's beneficiary. And in 8 years, and even when we do the adjustments for net immigration, you pick up a couple more decades. But think about that, living in a society with more deaths than births in 8 years. Matter of fact, I believe there were 17 states that last year had more deaths than births. But this goes back to my productivity argument. If you want a society and a country that still economically grows, that can still defend itself, that still is the envy of the world, that has the extraordinary privileges, are we going to adopt regulatory tax policies that maximize economic growth? Well, it turns out you're going to have to do things that maximize productivity, maximize labor substitution, use that technology, use the supercomputer in your pocket. And it's shocking how many people freak out every time I start to talk about using AI and these things. You don't have a choice. If we're going to keep growing, we got to thread a needle here while jogging. We got to manage the debt. We got to convince the debt markets we're serious, so don't raise our interest rates, because if interest rates go up a bunch, it's almost too late, because we're carrying so much, our demographics are against us, so we have to have this productivity spike, and it's going to come through functionally two things, AI and synthetic biology, but we won't, I'll say that for another speech. But there's a way it can work. There's hope. But there's only hope if this place sharpens its intellect. You can't keep saying the same things you were saying in the 1990s or a decade ago. The world is different. I hope the staff, the voters, others start to really think this through and start demanding, saying, I need intellectual robustness, if that's a word. Learn your math, but learn the opportunity, but also learn to think like an economist. So, let's put up the one chart that gets me the most hate. And it's more than a year and a half out of date. The numbers are worse today. But it's the truth. And for anyone crazy enough to watch, how many members of Congress are willing to show this to you? This is directly from CBO's numbers from about a year and a half ago, and they update it every year. CBO projects a $115 trillion debt over 2024 to 2054. Social Security, Medicare account for $124 trillion of deficit. The rest of the budget has a $9 trillion surplus. Let me walk that through. Basically means everything when we talk about of non-defense discretionary, defense discretionary, all those are projected to grow slower than tax receipts. But Medicare and Social Security, and then with their interest that goes on the top of their deficit financing, produce about $124 trillion of borrowing. How many of you think the world is going to lend us $124 trillion over the next 30 years? And this is based on current interest rates. Actually, it's sort of based on last year's interest rates. My math, because I was playing with the calculator a couple days ago, I have this going to like 135 trillion, not 124. It's not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's demographics. But the fact of the matter is, you could substantially change much of Medicare's costs and make services better, faster, cheaper. Just join this century of technology and taking care of people. You know, the ring like I'm wearing that does my vitals, or the technologies to incentivize saying, do we pay a Medicare provider to help people be healthier instead of making more money when someone is sicker? We did a whole presentation multiple times last year showing obesity in America is an additional $9.1 trillion of spending over the next 10 years. Maybe as a society we should consider changing the Farm Bill, nutrition support, helping our brothers and sisters because it's both moral And it's great economics. And suddenly people can come back into the labor force. They can form families. They can do all these other things because we have states where more than half the population is technically obese, and we're paying for it with our, it's government policy in many ways. It's doing it to these people. It's immoral. And I'm going to get hate texts saying, you can't talk about that. Screw you. Let's do what's right for our brothers and sisters in this country. We're Americans. Don't hide from the math. Embrace it and fix it. And the reason I brought this one's the last, if you saw my staff, they were slipping me this because we were doing the math. We were sort of speed doing the math. Foreign aid over, because, all right, let me explain. Last week's speech, one of the questions, and we're trying to do this more often, we will get these questions that come in on the comments. And someone asked this, and they actually did it as a legitimate question. Foreign aid over 4 years is $198 billion. So think of that. Every dime of foreign aid, if you said for the last 4 years and took 4 years of borrowing, it would cover 8 days, 8.2 days of debt. So those of you who get up in front of these mics and say, you know, if we got rid of foreign aid, we'll balance the budget. Even when I do the average of the last 4 years, it's just a little over 8 days of borrowing. It's hard. It's hard when you get up in front of an audience at home and you tell them the truth, and it's not the same thing they heard 10 minutes earlier on a talk radio show or on a cable television show. But this isn't about ratings. This isn't about today's dopamine hit of you being angry because you saw something on the Drudge Report. This is about saving this republic. If you're like I am, you believe this republic was divinely inspired. If you believe like I do you not have a moral obligation to save this country? How about being a dad? My wife's my age. We were blessed. We got to adopt a couple kids. Should they be part of the first generation that's poor? They don't have to be. There's a way the math works. It just turns out, Mr. Speaker, it's hard. We have to do complex things. We're going to have to tell lobbyists and people from home that you got to modernize. You got to join this century. You're going to have to change your business models. And they're going to be mean to us. They might not even contribute to us. But there's a way to make the math save our future. And I'm going to argue to you in the next 6 weeks around here, we're going to make some decisions. Are we going to modernize the delivery of government? Are we going to find a way to offset? Are we going to convince the bond markets we're serious about the future? For everyone out there, watch us. Because we all give these beautiful speeches of the morality of what an amazing country we have and our place in the world and our place in history. Mr. Speaker, this is the weeks we're going to make that history or have to live with the sins of what we do. And with that, I yield back.